Hello and welcome to a Bloomberg special, Coronavirus Tech Responds. I'm Emily Chang in San Francisco, where I've been sheltering in place since March 17th. With COVID-19 forcing people into quarantine around the world, technology has been playing a vital and at times controversial role on the front lines. We've been speaking with executives, investors, and employees about how the pandemic is changing their lives and their businesses. For the next half hour, we will bring you some of the most significant conversations. We begin with the executive response and Uber, where ridership has plunged, leading the company to withdraw its financial guidance for the year. I spoke exclusively to CEO Dara Khosrowshahi shortly after California announced its statewide lockdown. He said Uber would have billions of dollars in cash at the end of the year, even with the bleakest estimates about how hard the pandemic will hit on-demand transportation.
Well, the edge case scenario that we outlined assumed that essentially the world would be down 80% for the rest of the year. And I think what we're seeing with Hong Kong is there's a big hit. But once the health authorities get control of the situation, life does return. And when life returns, essentially Uber returns. Instantly in Hong Kong, we've had people going back to work. And as they go back to work, commuters, et cetera, start using our services as they always have. And I think if we assume that the health authorities, the cities, the governors, the presidents, all over the world are making the hard decisions and the necessary moves to control the virus, then eventually life will come back. And when life comes back, when people start going back to work, they're going to start using Uber. And just like in Hong Kong, we saw a deep trough and then a slow recovery. There's no reason that we won't see that. Even in a circumstance where you're down 80% of the rest of the year, we're still going to have $4 billion of cash. We're going to have access to a $2 billion revolver. We think it's highly, highly, highly unlikely, but we wanted to make sure that our investors knew that we are planning for the worst case, or we're essentially calculating what the worst case is. And then we're operationalizing to make sure that we're ready really for anything.
That was Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi. Video conferencing service Zoom has become a household name and been a social distancing lifeline through this pandemic. But the company has been also dogged by security issues. We spoke with CEO Eric Yuan, who vowed to double down on user safety.
We are working extremely hard, right, for almost several months now. So every day look at the capacity, traffic, and how to add more capacity and make sure that the service up. And worked so hard. It's really, really challenging, not easy. And also not to mention the cost, and all our employees working so hard to really want to help the world. And also recently we have had to deal with all those the privacy, the PR, the issues. And life is really hard. It's really not that easy.
You've been banned by school districts, including the New York City Department of Education, the governments of Taiwan and Germany for official use, Google as well. Of course, they have a competing product. Tesla, SpaceX. How many customers are you actually losing as a result of some of these security issues?
Probably you already mentioned most of them already. And by the way, we are still in the process to work together with New York, City, the Department of Education. And, so we have so many public schools, they all work together with us. Essentially, they would like to manage, more like they have IT team manage and a big master account. And we are still in the process. And also, for sure, there's some news headlines, I think is some information seriously, a little bit misleading. And, some, like Taiwan, or they took actions. And I'm pretty sure, and in the future, after the understand the true facts, I think that they are going to make a change. So we are an American, business company. We do all we can to focus on business communication, security, and safety is very important for us. I think, after they understand the true facts, I think that they will change the decision.
That was Zoom CEO Eric Yuan. True to its original motto, Facebook is keeping the world connected amidst stay-at-home measures around the globe. The company launching a COVID-19 information center it hopes will be a source of facts during the pandemic, but misinformation about the virus on the platform is still a problem. We spoke about that with Facebook Chief Operating Officer Sheryl Sandberg.
As soon as we can find it, if it is harmful misinformation, particularly the misinformation the WHO or local health ministries are most worried about, we're getting it down as quickly as we can. But we're also seeing a lot of Facebook groups doing amazing things. There are groups in Italy, which has been just particularly hard hit, getting together online to provide support. There's a doctor in Lombardy, Italy, very hard hit area, who's been providing services to patients, not even her own patients, just people in the area who are suffering from depression, suffering from isolation, suffering from anxiety online. We're seeing churches and synagogues put their services online and use Facebook groups to reach their community. So this is a time, we've seen this through other disasters, even though I don't think we've seen anything like this, where people come together to support each other in any way they can. And we're going to do all we can to keep facilitating that.
That was Facebook COO Sheryl Sandberg. Another service helping to keep business connected as we all work from home is Slack. I caught up with Slack CEO Stuart Butterfield, who talked about the challenges of leading in the midst of so much uncertainty.
I've been spending a lot of time with other CEOs in the software industry. No one knows what to think. It's not just the overall macroeconomic impact, but what do you do when your salespeople can't travel to meet customers? You don't have field marketing events. So figuring out like the long-term business impact can be really tough, and there's forces kind of on both sides. We've experienced an enormous surge in usage among existing customers, expansion there, brand new customers signing up, brand new teams being created, and the rate at which we're expanding right now is not sustainable. So that will revert to the mean. When I say not sustainable, I just mean we would have everyone in the world on in a couple of months if we kept going. But what is the long-term impact? That's really difficult to say.
That was Slack CEO Stuart Butterfield. Coming up, investing amidst a pandemic. We'll speak to former Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer, who shares his thoughts on what COVID-19 means for the markets and the tech economy. Plus, mobile content upstart Quibi didn't expect to launch in an outbreak, but early signs show it might have a chance to break out. We'll speak with Quibi CEO Meg Whitman about that and her investment strategy through the crisis. This is Bloomberg. Welcome back to Coronavirus Tech Responds. I'm Emily Chang. There's only been one thing certain about the markets, and that is volatility. It's impossible to know if they'll go up or down on any given day. We spoke with former Microsoft CEO and owner of the LA Clippers, Steve Ballmer, about what he's watching.
I think it's fair to assume the markets will stay volatile. I think the markets will stay depressed, if you will, for some time. I think tech specifically, from a P&L perspective, depending on where you are in tech, is likely to get hit less, if you will. Certainly software services, Microsoft Office, Azure, for the ones I love, Amazon's AWS, Zoom, will continue to get used, maybe even at a higher rate during this time of crisis. One thing I've been watching, Zoom is a competitor of Microsoft Teams, and I noticed Zoom stock has almost been counter-cyclical during this time, and certainly is one of the few stocks that's moved up as we see more and more people work from home.
Now, I've got to ask you about basketball, Steve. You're the owner of the LA Clippers. Of course, the NBA has suspended the season. The league is working on estimates for what losses this will mean, and I know you've done the math. What kind of projections are you seeing in terms of a loss that this means for the Clippers, and what's the most likely scenario for resuming the season, whether it's in Las Vegas or otherwise?
Well, let me answer the second question first. League office is certainly working on thoughts about where we go from here in terms of a season or whatever may be possible or probable. And I won't choose to comment on that. I will say it'd be great to play some basketball, but only if the time is right and the circumstances are right. In terms of the Clippers, we are being diligent about continuing to pay our employees. We're even, especially for the smaller vendors, we need to, we're fortunate, we're deep pocketed. We're trying to take care of our smaller vendors. We had a t-shirt vendor we had $100,000 committed to for playoff t-shirts. Well, I think it's important that we pay that money, put it down now, and see what can happen over time, since we are in a little better position. Yes, we will lose money. And I think at the same time, that's going to be true for a lot of businesses. I've been very fortunate in life. I want to make sure that we help take care of not only our own employees, but the population that we can. Certainly at Staples Center, where we play our games, we made sure to pay all of the staff that works game days, not just our own employees, because those folks were counting on that income through the end of our season.
That was Steve Ballmer, former CEO of Microsoft and owner of the LA Clippers. Well, short-form mobile content maker Quibi said it had 1.7 million downloads in its first week after launch, surpassing its own expectations. I spoke to CEO Meg Whitman about the increase in demand for content during a crisis. The former HP and eBay CEO also shared her advice for investors and other tech leaders.
I've lived through 9/11. I've lived through the 2008 recession. This always comes back. And when you're an investor, you just need to hang in there and remain calm, because this always does come back. I mean, we're an investor, in professional sports. They're completely sidelined right now. We're an investor in esports. They're completely sidelined right now. And then, of course, have a broad portfolio. You just hunker down and say, this too will ultimately pass, and that the economy will come back. I just can't tell you exactly when.
But do you think things will go back to normal? I mean, right now it's hard to even remember what normal was. This now seems normal. And so how do you figure out, or are you trying to figure out what changes, what stays the same, what is the new normal?
Yeah, I think it's so hard to predict, isn't it? And I suspect that the economy comes back, not slowly. I think it comes back much more rapidly than it did in 2008. You remember 2008, it went down and then sort of a long, slow climb out. I think when things, open up, you'll see a V shape to the recovery. And then, the question is, do people resume the way they used to live? And I think over time they do.
That was Quibi CEO Meg Whitman. Meantime, startups across Silicon Valley are struggling, with new layoffs being announced daily and venture capitalists sending dire warnings. Sequoia Capital was one of the first to alert its entrepreneurs to a prolonged global economic slowdown. I got insight from partner Alfred Lin.
We sent that memo because we wanted to signal to our founders that they should take it seriously, and we want to sort of go back to first principles. And the first and foremost, this is a health crisis. So we want everyone to take care of themselves and their family and their employees and their community. And then second, as a business leader, we have to take this seriously, and we need to focus on survival. For many of our founders, that means focusing on their cash flow and understanding how much cash they have to get to the other side. And I think we will get to the other side. At Sequoia, we've been in business for 47 years. We've seen many crises. Every crisis looks different. This is first and foremost a health crisis. The last one was a financial crisis. The one before was 9/11. And we will get to the other side of this, but in each and every one of these, the most important thing is to stay healthy, not to panic, and to focus on your cash flow.
That was Sequoia Capital partner Alfred Lin. I also spoke with Mamoon Hamid, a partner at Kleiner Perkins, about how he's advising his portfolio companies to prepare for layoffs.
We're encouraging our companies to do one layoff if they have to, and do it now as they're able to preserve more of that cash that they have today in the light of just uncertainty. And I expect most of that to happen right now as we speak now to the next few weeks. And then I think we'll see a lull in layoffs because you don't want to instill sort of death by 1,000 cuts in your companies. It's jarring enough to do one layoff. To do multiple layoffs is not the way to go, and that's definitely not what we're advising our companies. So I expect layoffs to sort of be in the window right now, and then I would say have a break, and depending on how fast we reopen or not, we may see another wave later, maybe this year. But for now, I'd say we're reaching the end of the decision to do layoffs.
Meantime, there are companies where business is skyrocketing. Slack is one of those companies. You're an early investor in Slack. And I'm curious how much of the new behaviors that we're seeing now will actually last beyond this? Like, will we use Slack as much as we do now when we all go back to work? Same with Zoom. And how does that impact sort of where you might want to place your bets?
Yeah, I think we've been fortunate beneficiary of work from home, the movement as investors in Slack, and we have other companies like Figma, which is a collaborative design software company that allows people to make designs in the browser collaboratively across the globe in teams. We have a company like Loom that has seen, which is an asynchronous video platform that has seen 10x growth in every single metric in the last month. So really, these are current behaviors that I think it may not be what you do 100% of the time, but maybe what you do 80% of the time. And we may just revert to Zoom for a number of meetings that we'd have done in person. Now we'll just do them more efficiently remotely, just because it's actually it's good enough.
Mamoon Hamid, partner at Kleiner Perkins. Coming up, Amazon is probably the most visible tech company amidst the pandemic, but that doesn't make it the most popular, especially among some of its workers. We'll hear from one of them next. This is Bloomberg. Welcome back to our special program, Coronavirus Tech Responds. I'm Emily Chang in San Francisco. Amazon has emerged as perhaps the most hotly debated tech company responding to COVID-19. There's been a massive spike in usage as millions stay home and shop online. But the company has been rocked by controversy over the safety at its warehouse and distribution centers. We talked to now former Amazon employee Chris Smalls, who staged a protest at Amazon's facility in Staten Island, New York.
Well, the company has been being false with the public and the media from day one. The conditions there are horrific. The items that we use to clean up the buildings are scarce. You got to think, if the medical field don't have PPE to protect the doctors and nurses, the first responders, what makes you think the retail company do? We don't have these things. We don't have the proper masks. We don't have the latex gloves. They have a third-party cleaning crew, but even they're scared. They're human beings. They're scared as well. So a lot of them haven't been showing up to work, and it's all false. It's all sugar-coated, and it's not true. It's untrue. We have plenty of workers that haven't been to work for the entire month of March because they're scared for their lives. A lot of them was out there protesting with me today. We have people that have lupus. We have people that have asthma. We have people that have infants at home. We have people that's pregnant. These are people that are being unpaid right now, and myself included. I care about my twins, my 7-year-old twins I have at home, and I don't want to bring anything back home to them. So, I haven't seen them in over a month and a half, and it's because I'm scared of going to work. And these are the scrutiny that we have. We need money to pay bills, and the company dropped the ball on this one. They're not treating their people right, and I had to take action. And unfortunately, taking action, it cost me my job, breaking news, just let you guys know. The company just called me and terminated me, and I felt like I was a target. And it's okay. I'm still going to be the voice of the people. I'm still going to continue to fight for those people inside that building. And, shame on Amazon.
Hang on, Chris. You're saying Amazon just fired you?
I am confirming that, yes. They just called me over the phone, and they terminated me, claiming that I violated a quarantine, which is ridiculous. It's insane, and it's inhumane what they're doing. They're trying to silence me. I was always a target, and it's fine. I predicted this would happen, and Unfortunately, it happens sooner than later. But at the same time, I feel like people know I'm doing the right thing. I got plenty of people that's supporting me. Their own people that's inside the building that's still supporting me. So I'm going to continue to fight. It's not going to stop me. Amazon and Jeff Bezos, they can keep this company. They can keep their money. If they don't know how to treat people right, I don't want to work for them.
That was Chris Smalls, a former Amazon Fulfillment Center employee in Staten Island, New York. Bloomberg Technology reached out to Amazon for a statement. They said Smalls wasn't fired in retaliation, but because he violated social distancing guidelines. The company also saying in a statement, these accusations are simply unfounded. Our employees are heroes fighting for their communities and helping people get critical items they need in this crisis. The truth is, the vast majority of employees continue to show up and do the heroic work of delivering for our customers every day. And it's not just Amazon workers, but also Instacart shoppers who are fighting for better health and pay protection as they continue to make grocery deliveries for folks stuck at home. A spokesperson from Instacart told us, in the last 4 weeks, Instacart has introduced more than 15 new product features, new health guidelines, new shopper bonuses, new sick leave policies, and new safety supplies, as well as pay for those affected by COVID-19. But that hasn't been enough to satisfy many gig workers. We spoke with Heidi Carrico, an Instacart shopper and founder of the Gig Workers Collective, about her experience.
We're out there buying groceries for everyone, and Instacart is not, well, people are staying home and staying safe, and we want people to do that, and we want to get people their groceries. Instacart has continuously refused to meet any request for testing, for PPE, for, truthfully, hazard pay. We're on the front lines, and we're doing this, and what they want to pay is pennies. And they're counting on the fact that we're broke and we're desperate. We don't have savings plans. We don't have savings accounts. We're all 1 week away. And granted, many cities have put restrictions on evictions and utility cutoffs and this, that, and the other. That just means you can't do it right now. We still have to pay these bills at some point. So we still have to make this money. We go into stores where people are afraid to go into. It's different than picking up a food delivery where all you have to do is pick up food that's been left on a counter and then take it to a house and set it on their front porch. We have to pick up items that other people have been touching, put them into bags, and interact with other people that are shopping. We're surrounded by a lot of people, so there's a lot of danger out there, and we need the protections that are not being offered, and truthfully, we need to get paid better.
And that does it for the special Coronavirus Tech Responds. You can watch our daily program, Bloomberg Technology, every weekday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, on Bloomberg Television. I'm Emily Chang. This is Bloomberg.